If there's a bunch of people over there laughing and you're not with them, you're probably being... So guys, we're back with Moto Stories with Unkie Phil. I'm Unkie Phil. That goes back a ways. So Unkie Phil didn't happen overnight. Unkie Phil is not because I have a nieces and nephews I love dearly. Unkie Phil started long before they were ever a gleam in my brother's eye. Unkie Phil goes back to this sort of thing. So when you have a motorcycle family, when you've got a moto family and you've got people that have known you for years and you go out and you ride bikes and you have adventures with your folks, your people, and there are people that you just turn up at events together and you say, I like those guys and this is my group and I click with them. And it's a great feeling. And I mean, some people get it by following fish. You know, they followed the dead for a while and then they just followed in with the fish, right? And that was great. And they'll do that for the rest of their lives. And you've got a 2% van culture, and 2% van culture, they do that. And they'll get together with their old cool custom vans and they'll just fall in with each other and they just go. So the thing about these groups of people, these tribes, right, is there's no real rite of passage. There's no initiation. There's not really a secret handshake. There are places that exist, and to be one, you have to ask one. But in these groups, it's more about just showing up, showing an interest, being into it. And if you're cool and people like you, they don't give a crap what you're riding. They just like having you around. You're welcomed into the group. And having the right bike is something that people have put energy into for way too long, and it's not true at all. Some of my favorite people have brought the wrong bike to these events for years. And the joke is, do they get away with it? Well, they don't get away with it. They're better than what bike they're riding, right? It's they're doing better at having fun. They're winning at making a good time. And that's a big thing. Now, a big part of that is not to be an asshole. Don't be an asshole. And if you're not sure how to not be an asshole, if there's a bunch of people over there laughing and you're not with them, you're probably being an asshole. They've identified you as an asshole, and you need to change that very quickly. You need to drop back and change whatever you've done up to this point, because what's got you where you are right now is not part of people having a good time. If you're somewhere other than your backyard and there's a bunch of people out there to have a good time and they're all having a good time, but you're not, don't blame them, blame you. Change yourself, figure out what's going on, and try better to be more willing to accept what's happening around you. You might be judging it. Don't judge it. Go along with it. Have fun with it. Because stuff does get weird. And that's the difference where I like to remind people that in those other things I talked about, so we talked about that, you know, those van people, those people that like to get together for the van culture. What's weird is that 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't know what it is about people, but they start taking their clothes off. And I've been in several different communities where at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, they're just like, well, any reasonable person would have gone to bed by now, and we're the survivors. And you know what? It's 81 degrees out and it's not raining sideways. We should take our clothes off. And if nobody flies the flare or toots the horn and says, it's officially naked time, what happens invariably is somebody gets naked. Somebody, that guy, and we all know that guy, he's that guy who gets naked a little earlier than everyone else. And it's awkward at first, but then everyone else settles into it. And that guy, remember when I said it's the Fish concert, it's the Grateful Dead concert, it's maybe a gathering of the Juggalos, I don't know, but there's one point where everybody knows that guy who gets naked a little bit too early. And we all make fun of that guy, don't we? We all like, man, if I looked that, I probably wouldn't get naked. But that guy gives your permission slip. He's your permission slip to get weird. It's officially adult time. It's the time to have fun and get stupid. Now, this happens at every motorcycle event I've been to. Some more male-oriented, some less mixed than others, but it's goddamn at every event. And every event I've had where people have been like, he's not wrong. We should do a naked ride. And I have been to events where motherfuckers have actually organized a naked ride. where people have put out a flyer for a naked ride. And if you think that you're going to put out a flyer for a naked ride because you want people to really have the most fun that they can, if you put out a flyer for the naked ride, the police will show up. And that will take all the fun out of your naked ride. But it is a cool thing. And what's cool about naked rides is if you can find that one guy who's incredibly awkward and you can hand him your video camera or something, and you can be like, okay, we're going to do something really cool in about 5 minutes. Here's the video camera. And you know the guy's awkward. You know the people that really, give them the video camera. You're going to find that person comes right out of their shell real quick. They're going to capture the golden moment. And yeah, go out. But there are rules, okay? So here's my rules, Unkie Phil's rules for naked riding. 1, leave your boots on. Stuff can go bad. I have crashed, I've gotten road rash, I've had bikes run out of gas, I've had the fuel tap left in the off position, I've had bikes that just weren't reliable that I borrowed just to do the naked ride. And I've had to kickstart bikes, I've had to bump start bikes in a naked ride. And if you do a naked ride and you're not wearing proper foot gear, you may regret that. The second thing is everybody's going to think that you're going to get naked, and you're going to take your clothes and you're going to hide them over behind that tree. Those people are idiots. If you hide your clothes over behind that tree, my friends who are funnier than you are will go take your clothes. And then you'll be naked for, well, a long time, which will be funnier. What I recommend is take your clothes and roll them up and put them on the bike, or maybe put them under the seat of your bike so you're sitting on your clothes. Motorcycle seats at 3 or 4 in the morning can be rather dewy. They can be cold and dewy, and you'll be glad if your wedding tackle isn't sitting on an ice cold piece of vinyl. If you're sitting instead on your pants and shorts or whatever you've got there, those are sitting under you and you're wearing your boots. So then you can go out and do the naked ride and have a great time. And when the naked ride's over, you can put your clothes on and come back to the party like a distinguished person, right? That's important. Take your clothes with you. The last thing is, remember, if you're lucky enough to have a passenger on the back of your bike in the naked ride, that person has entrusted you with their life and their dignity. If you crash right now, you are an asshole forever. You'll never live that down. And if you crash in the naked ride and your passenger is standing there butt naked with 50 people on bikes roaming around with headlights shining at them in the stark, cold 4 a.m. light of just poorly built ancient 40-year-old motorcycle headlights, if you crash at that moment and you have to kickstart your bike 400 times and can't get it going because the bitch flooded out, you are no longer cool. So that brings me to a story, a very quick story. One year we're doing a naked ride and it's great. It starts with 1 or 2 people and it ends up being 40 or 50 people. And it's just great. We got this whole thing going and we're traveling in this giant oval on grass and it's rough and it's tumble and it's about the best naked ride you could have. And the weather's perfect. And a buddy of mine will remain Paul. And Paul's got a girl on the back, and this isn't Paul's wife or Paul's girlfriend. It's somebody else's wife and girlfriend entirely. And they're going around naked riding, having just a good time. And Paul decides this is the perfect opportunity to pull some cool shit. Well, don't try your experimental moves during a naked ride. This is the time to hold it all together, for dignity's sake. Well, Paul has a yard sale. Well, he would have a yard sale if he had gear on, but he didn't. It was just 2 naked people sliding sideways across the grass and dirt. And then he picked his bike up and he proceeded to realize that the bike is, it's a vintage bike. It's not going to start on the first tick. There's no electric starter. You just got to kick it for all you're worth. And it's been laying on its side and he's been drinking and he's wearing his boots because he's a trained professional. But I'll tell you, his passenger, she was standing there with just nothing. And at that point, you throw her a side panel or something just for some dignity. But he didn't, because he was just focused on the situation at hand, was getting the bike going. I didn't hesitate to roll right up. She jumped on the back of my bike, most lickety-split, and off I fucked. Be the hero. Don't be the guy who crashes. Be the guy who's there to scoop up that person that needs you more than they've needed anyone else, because nobody wants to be standing upright in the middle of a naked ride. Nobody wants to be the center of attention, because if you crash, whether you're the driver or the passenger, you are the center of attention. And at that moment in the naked ride, everybody knew that he crashed. And realistically, once he lost his passenger, he was just a naked, furry guy trying to kickstart a 60-year-old bike. And that does not look good on anyone. So with that, remember to ride fast and take chances. A little moto story from Unkie Phil. I hope you guys had a good time. I hope you check out our podcast at Cleveland Moto. available where you find all the finer podcasts. We'll see you next week.